She used a rusty steak knife, a bottle of cheap gin, and a sewing kit to pull 5 bullets out of a dying man's chest. She saved his life while the rest of the city slept. But the next morning, instead of a medal, Jada Lawson got a pink slip. She was fired, evicted, and left with $3 to her name. She thought her life was over. She didn't know that the man bleeding out on table 4 wasn't just a victim. He was the most powerful man in Chicago, and he had been watching her the entire time. What happens in the next 24 hours will make you question everything you know about luck, karma, and revenge. You need to hear this. The rain in Chicago doesn't wash things clean. It just makes the grime slicker. It was 2:15 a.m. on a Tuesday, the kind of hour that belongs to the lonely, the desperate, and the hunted. Jada Lawson wiped down the counter at the Heart and Soul Diner for the 10th time that night. The diner, located on the corner of 47th and King Drive, was a relic of a forgotten decade. The neon sign outside flickered with a dying buzz, missing the O, so it just read, "The Heart and Soul DNR." Jada was 26, but her eyes told a different story. Her rich brown skin, glistening under the harsh diner lights, looked weary, just like her soul. Her messy bun and coffee-stained apron were the worn markers of someone who had no time for herself. She wasn't just tired, she was exhausted. Every inch of her body screamed for rest, for a break, but she was too busy holding everything together, too busy surviving. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, fingers trembling slightly as she read the text from her landlord. "Rent is 3 weeks late. You have 48 hours, Jada. I'm sorry." A deep sigh escaped her lips, and she absently touched the locket around her neck. It held a picture of her younger brother, Malik. Malik, 19 years old and struggling with kidney failure, was her world. Every dollar she made went to his dialysis treatments the insurance refused to cover. There was no money left for anything else. No savings, no comfort, just survival. "Hey Jada, stop daydreaming and refill the sugars," Marcus called from the back booth. Marcus was a bulldog of a man with thick arms and a short fuse. He counted the register cash, eyes scanning for threats, including the flies. "On it, Marcus," Jada muttered, pulling herself together and heading for the station. That's when the door slammed open, nearly ripping off the bell above it. The gust of wind and rain tore through the diner, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of wet asphalt and ozone. A man stumbled inside, blood soaking his tuxedo. His face was strong, angular, with eyes the color of storm clouds, piercing gray, sharp, full of intent. But his body was wrecked, the once pristine white shirt now stained with crimson as he collapsed onto table 4. "Holy mother of," Marcus shouted, his face draining of color. "Get him out of here! Jada, lock the door!" Jada didn't lock the door. Instead, she vaulted over the counter. She wasn't just a waitress. She dropped out of nursing school 3 years ago when her parents died in a car crash. But that training, that instinct, never left her. She slid to the man's side. He gasped, his skin pale, his breathing labored. His eyes, locked on hers, begged for help. "No hospitals," he wheezed, blood bubbling past his lips. "They'll finish the job." "You've been shot," Jada said, surprisingly steady. She ripped open his shirt. The damage was catastrophic. 5 entry wounds, 3 in the lower abdomen, 1 in the shoulder, and 1 dangerously close to the liver. He was bleeding out. "Marcus, call 911 now," Jada screamed. "No." The man grabbed her wrist with a vice-like grip. "No cops, no ambulance. If you call them, I'm dead." Jada froze for a moment. She saw the desperation in his eyes, but also something more, a terrifying clarity. This wasn't a drunken brawl. This was an execution. She didn't have time to question him. "Okay, Marcus," Jada said, her voice sharp. "Lock the front door and flip the sign to closed." "Are you crazy?" Marcus shouted, his hands shaking. "He's bleeding on my upholstery. I'm calling the cops." "If he dies here, Marcus, you're going to have a corpse, a crime scene, and a police investigation that'll shut you down for weeks," Jada lied, thinking fast. "Let me stabilize him. Flip the sign." Marcus hesitated for a moment, his greed overtaking his fear, and finally flipped the sign and locked the door. "Okay," Jada said, turning to the stranger. "What's your name?" Leonardo, he gasped. "Okay, Leonardo, this is going to hurt. I need to get these bullets out and stop the bleeding." She ran to the back. There wasn't a real med kit, just Band-Aids and antiseptic wipes. She grabbed the first aid box, a bottle of high-proof gin Marcus kept under the counter, and a sharp boning knife from the kitchen. She also grabbed a sewing kit she used to fix her apron. She ran back to table 4. "Bite on this," she subbed, shoving a clean bar towel into his mouth. She poured the gin over the knife, then over his wounds. Leonardo arched his back, muffled screams escaping as the alcohol burned. "I'm sorry," Jada whispered. For the next 40 minutes, the Heart and Soul Diner became an operating theater. Jada worked with the precision of a surgeon and the grit of a soldier. Her hands were covered in his blood, but there was no time to think about that. She dug into his wounds, pulling out the bullets, one after another. Clink. The first bullet hit the metal serving tray. Clink. The second. Leonardo passed out after the third, but Jada didn't stop. She poured more gin over the wounds and stitched up arteries using fishing line from the lost and found box. It was messy. It was brutal, but the bleeding slowed. Clink, clink. 5 bullets. Jada slumped back against the booth, her hands still shaking. Leonardo's breathing was shallow but steady. She checked his pulse. It was there, weak but alive. She cleaned the wounds, bandaged them as best as she could with torn tablecloths, and covered him with her own coat. It was 4 a.m. Suddenly, Leonardo's eyes fluttered open again. He looked at the pile of bullets on the tray. He looked at Jada, his gaze still intense. He reached into his tuxedo pocket with a trembling hand and pulled out a small, blood-smeared business card. It was made of black metal, heavy and cold. "Take it," he whispered. "Don't lose it." "Rest," Jada said softly. "I have to go," he said, struggling to sit up. "They'll track my phone," he slurred. "I have to get out." Jada tried to stop him, but he stumbled to his feet, legs buckling under him. "You can't walk," she protested. "You'll die." "My car's in the alley," he mumbled. "Thank you, Angel." He stumbled out of the back exit into the rain, vanishing as quickly as he had appeared. Jada stood there, looking at the mess. The blood, the ripped-up diner booth, and the black metal card he had left behind. She was alone now. Nothing but silence, blood, and a card that felt heavier than it should. Marcus finally came out of the kitchen, looking at the aftermath with disgust. "You're fired," he said flatly. Jada didn't have the energy to argue. She stared at him, her pulse still racing, adrenaline crashing. "What?" "I said, you're fired," Marcus shouted, his face contorting with anger. "Look at this. You brought a gang war into my diner. I can't have this. Get your stuff and get out." "Marcus, I just saved a man's life," Jada said, her voice trembling. "Please, I need this job. Malik needs his meds next week." "Not my problem," Marcus spat. "Get out before I call the cops on you for practicing medicine without a license." Technically, Marcus was right. What she did was illegal. But Jada didn't have time to argue. She grabbed her coat and realized her other coat, the one she'd wrapped around Leonardo, was gone. She grabbed her bag and looked one last time at the table. She saw the black metal card Leonardo had given her. She swiped it off the table and shoved it into her jeans pocket. Jada's walk home was 3 miles. The wind bit at her skin, and her body shivered from the cold and the rain. Her cell phone was at 4%, and all she had left was a crumpled $5 bill and the black card. When she arrived at her apartment, she saw the neon orange eviction notice taped to the door. The lock had been changed. She pounded on the door, calling out for her brother. "Your brother's not there," Walker said flatly. "The ambulance came, took him to St. Jude's. I rented the place out to someone else." Jada felt like the floor had fallen out from under her. Her brother, her home, everything was slipping away. She collapsed on the stoop, soaked and broken until the sun began to rise. She checked her pockets, finding only the card and the crumpled $5. She pulled out the black metal card. "Don't lose it." She dialed the number on the card. "This line is secure. State your code." I don't have a code," she stammered. "I'm the waitress from the Heart and Soul Diner. The Angel, I guess." The line clicked dead. Great, just great. The next few days were a blur, but Jada's world was about to change in ways she couldn't have imagined. It's a reminder that sometimes the worst day of your life is just the setup for the best adventure. Jada didn't save Leonardo because he was rich. She saved him because it was the right thing to do. And in a world filled with people like Marcus and Raymond, be a Jada. Be the person who stops the bleeding even when you're hurting yourself, because you never know who is watching, and you never know when the wheel of fortune is about to turn. Wow, what a roller coaster. If Jada's story inspired you, or if you just loved seeing Raymond get exactly what he deserved, smash that like button right now. It really helps the channel grow. And I want to know, what would you have done in the diner that night? Would you have called the cops, or would you have grabbed the gin in the sewing kit? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a story. We upload new real-life dramas every single week. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay kind, stay brave, and keep your eyes open. See you in the next video.